I lost Johnny 3 years ago to a drug overdose. He struggled for many years trying to get help, and there were many times that he had a very hard time finding a place to go. We did have insurance, and either they didn't take our insurance or there was a waiting list. After Johnny passed, I happened upon a Facebook page out of Gloucester, Massachusetts, and it was the sheriff's page. He had a program going up there called the Angels Initiative, where people could come in and turn in their drugs, ask for help, and he would get them the help they needed. Well, after John passed and I saw that, I thought, what a great program after seeing him struggle for so long. So I pulled all the information off of their website and brought it to a police officer friend of mine and asked him if he thought Sheriff Prummell would be interested in doing something like this. And he absolutely said he would. He was very concerned about the opiate addiction problems here. So I met with him, gave him all the paperwork, and about maybe 3 to 4 months later, I got a phone call, and they were going to release the program and wanted me to come down to the sheriff's office for a press conference, which we had in January of 2016, where he officially launched the program. A lot of people contact me because they think the program is some sort of trick. I was contacted by a young woman about her mom looking for help. I explained the program to her, and then I spoke with her mom, who is Cindy.
In 2004, I had been with my husband for 13 years. We had 4 children together, and he left me. So I started drinking. Was never a drinker before, so drinking hit me pretty hard. A friend of mine had asked me to try something, and I was drunk. I wasn't thinking about it. I remember it, but I wasn't thinking about what it was, and it ended up being crack. I got very addicted to it. I lost my children. I did start to go into rehab then, but Hurricane Charlie came and we ended up having to leave, so I did not go through rehab. It was not successful. I mean, I did stop doing crack, but I just went into other things. Not long after, I had an accident, and I was put on pain pills. And for years, I had 5 different surgeries, and for years was on pain pills, never with a thought of what it could do to me, you know? Then when I didn't need them anymore, I tried to stop them, and I couldn't. Your body doesn't let you. It was a slippery slope from when I realized that I cannot do this. I can't get off of myself. I started doing more, and then I started shooting them. I got to a point where I tried so hard to stop, I couldn't. I wanted to die. I couldn't stop. I couldn't make it go away. No matter how many drugs I did, it just made it worse. I called my fiance and I said, I can't do this alone. I'm gonna end up killing myself. I wanna die. I don't wanna do this anymore. So then I called my friend, and she hooked me up with Lori, and she told me about the program with Sheriff Prummell. Call the Sheriff's Department, tell them you need help. They'll take you to Detox. No questions asked, none. So that's what I did. I thought that I was different. I thought that I was unique. I thought I was the only person that had this issue. Until you go and you talk to people and you hear their stories. Every day it was a set thing. Every day we wake up, we take our medication, we go to the facility where all day you sit there with therapists and other people who have been in addiction who are now techs there. You're never alone. You always have a tech, you always have someone to talk to, regardless of what time it is. There's always somebody there. And you need that. Because after about a week to 10 days of being off of that medication, all those emotions that you didn't feel, all those feelings that you didn't feel, they all come back at once. And you have no idea how to deal with it. I literally sat in the closet for 3 hours. I couldn't get up, I couldn't stop crying, I couldn't move. Those all come up, and if you don't have someone there to help you deal with that and get away from that, it's a dangerous situation. People think that it's so easy to do it on your own. It's not. You cannot do this on your own. I've tried. I've failed many times. You just don't have the know-how to do it. You don't have the people there to help you. Once you hear these people talking, you start getting into it. You start feeling like you can do this. You start getting encouragement, and you start getting this thing inside you, almost like pride, to feel like, I'm gonna make myself better. I'm gonna get away from this. I'm gonna beat this. You just have to work the steps. You have to have the support. You have to realize that your self-worth is better than letting a pill smaller than your fingernail control you. And you are a slave to that drug. And to break free from that, it's amazing. It's like seeing God. It's like, I don't know, it's better than the first time you do a drug and fall in love with it. It is a million times better than that. There's struggles. You're always gonna have struggles. Life is life. You just don't always have to turn to something like drugs or alcohol to make you feel better. Life does get better. Life, struggling to find out where your next money's coming from for your next drug, you don't have to do that. You don't have to worry about that. My bills are paid. I'm remodeling my house. I have a car that's almost paid off. I have a great relationship with my kids, with my fiance. I don't need to lie to anyone anymore. I don't need to constantly look over my shoulder and wonder, well, who's back there, who's trying to take from me, who's gonna hurt me today. You know, I don't have that anymore. I am happy all the time. Well, 99% of the time. Everyone's got sad times, but I'm happy all the time. And everybody can have that.
There are many different paths to start the road to recovery. Brittney's was different than Cindy. She was actually the first to use the Sheriff's Initiative when she went to Detox. She was there when Cindy came in. They knew each other, so that was a good connection for both of them.
Started doing drugs and alcohol when I was 15 years old. I'm now 27. Went in many programs, been to jail, prison many times. Just really hit a point that I was desperate. I was done. I couldn't take it anymore. I've lost everything. I lost my family. I was pretty much, every dollar I had went to my addiction. A friend of mine named Lori had lost a son to addiction, so I knew she was willing to help people that wanted help. I reached out to her and she informed me about the Charlotte County Sheriff's program to help us addicts. I had reached out to Charlotte County. I had them come to where I was at, which was a drug home. I was terrified because living the way I've lived for so long, I just was in fear of, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get arrested. I've never, in my active using had it end good when I had contact with the law. So I had a lot of fear. They showed up at my home. They knocked. I came to the door. I wasn't feeling very well, so they allowed to escort me in to get some clothes before I had went to get help. And I was scared. I had paraphernalia out. I just thought, oh my gosh, they're gonna arrest me. They're gonna arrest everyone in this house. I'm never gonna live this down. And they assured me that that would not happen. They escorted me in with belongings everywhere. Allowed me to get what I needed. They cleaned up my area of the house, and at that point we exited the house. I was trying to hand him my ID. I was going through the normal process of most of us may know as being arrested, and hurrying up, smoking my last cigarette, and rushing to put my stuff in a bag, and the cop said, "Calm down. This is the best choice you're making. We're getting you help. Don't worry about anything." He put my stuff in the back of the car, and he opened the door, and no cuffs, no nothing. They made sure I had nothing on me. He let me finish my cigarette, and I got in the car, and there I was on my journey of where I'm headed now.
So the sheriff's office is going to bring the person to our door when they pick them up and the person asks for help. They are really just the ride to get here. So they bring them to the front door, they ring the doorbell. All of our doors at our detox facility are locked from the outside in. However, this is a voluntary facility. So leaving the facility, it's all push unlocked. So it's really for this patient's protection. So they ring the doorbell, our staff go out and thank the police officer for bringing them. The police officer or sheriff's office is then asked to leave, and then we bring the person in.
I went through the detox facility in Charlotte County. The sheriffs escorted me there. I stayed and did my 7 days of detox in that program. Ended up going, speaking to doctors. That was the first time I was ever honest with any counselor in my life. I figured if I needed help, I better tell them what's going on.
We go ahead and we do a brief screening with the person to make sure that they meet medical necessity for detox from a substance, so that they've used substances in the last few days or in the last couple hours or in the last day, that they're in active withdrawal, so they're not feeling well, they're sweating, their stomach is cramping, they're having diarrhea, those types of symptoms, and that they're really at a place that they need to come in. We then go through the admission process with them. So our nurse goes out, they make sure that they don't need any form of medical clearance. We admit them into our program, and we start making them as comfortable as possible. So we have them meet with our psychiatrist who we have on site, also with our therapist. We do a 4 to 7 day detox depending on the substance that they're coming in from. And like I said, our goal is to make them comfortable while they're here. So whereas at home, if they'd be detoxing on their own, they're going to be facing and feeling every single one of those withdrawal symptoms. Here, we can make them more comfortable. We do provide a medication to slowly taper them off, and that way they're comfortable while they're here, really working on group coping skills. They're learning alternatives to using, so we're also doing recreational activities like yoga, meditation. We have a bean bag on site as well to work out some anger and aggression if need be. We do anger and aggression management classes. So they're really learning all of these skills while they're here with us and going through those 4 to 7 days in order to prepare them for when they leave, they're not going back out and using again. Any patient or person that comes in through the Sheriff's Initiative don't pay a penny out of pocket. And we're able to do that because of the initiative and our collaborations with both the Sheriff's Office and with funding provided by Archways Institute that allows us to take anybody in who comes in through the Sheriff's Office, put them on the scholarships provided by Archways, and any of that out-of-pocket expense that they would normally incur is then paid for by Archways. So they will not receive a bill at any point after or during their treatment saying that they have a balance due because of Archways Institute and the collaboration with the Sheriff's Office as well as Charlotte Behavioral.
So I had no money, I had nothing, and I didn't know how I was going to get this help because everything is so expensive. And with Lori as a part of my life, I then contacted Lori from the detox facility, explained to her what I wanted to do. She told me to get on that phone and make the calls I needed.
Brittney was able to leave detox and go into sober living directly afterwards. She didn't go on to rehab. Johnny's Dream helped her. We paid for a month's living so that she was able to get on her feet without starting off in debt, with bills for living expenses.
And I called this sober living home in Sarasota and spoke with the manager there, and they said it would be $600 for a month, where I was going to get that. Lori started her Johnny's Dream Foundation in honor of her son, and honestly, she picked me up from detox. She got me a few things of clothes, some food and took me straight to Sarasota because I couldn't stop. I had to just get where I was headed. I didn't want to fall back into that old town, old area. I just needed to go. And I went there. She put my deposit for my first month. It was hard. It was not normal. I'm not used to being friends with a bunch of girls. I'm not used to living with a bunch of people sober. And I started working and I was able to pay my rent ever since then. I have been there for quite some time. I did get a vehicle. I've saved up for a vehicle. I have saved up and just continued working the steps, working with my sponsor, working on me, because I had to learn that my addiction isn't just drugs and alcohol. It's behaviors that go with it, that lead me there. The anger, the frustration, the boredom, everything builds up and I just run, and that's where I lead to, is alcohols and drugs. So if I don't fix any of that, I'm not going to fix anything. And that has been my major focus. I've had to slow myself down. Yes, the money is nice to save, but I had to cut back on work because I was getting so busy working, I was forgetting to work on myself. Therefore, some days came where it was getting a little hard for me, but then I realized I had my support system that called me out on it. They said, Britt, you think you're working too much? Maybe you're not focusing on what you and working on you. And I had to cut back. I have been very blessed for the people in my life that have helped me and pulled me out of situations. Sometimes they tell me things I don't like to hear, but I listen. Because if I want a new way of life, I have to follow it. Nothing changes if you change nothing, is what I was told. Therefore, I'm willing to change everything right now. Just today, actually went and signed my papers for my own apartment. It's Next Step Housing, and it's going to be like a little efficiency just for me, but from that point, they do month to month, and they actually have more like condos and actually houses that you're able to move up into as you get comfortable and as you get situated, and it's a big step for me. I'm excited. I'm nervous because I have that inner fear of just my old ways, but as long as I stay on the path of where I'm headed and I stay around the people that have helped me get as far as I've gotten, I can do it. I can. But it just takes a lot of work and a lot of time. And it's definitely not easy, but it's worth it.
Today we face a national crisis with the opioid epidemic and other drug addictions. We know that we cannot arrest our way out of this problem. The Charlotte County Sheriff's Office is committed to encouraging drug users to seek recovery. We are dedicated to serving our community, and we have implemented a fresh and innovative program to help those battling addictions. This Addiction Recovery Initiative connects addicts with treatment programs and facilities through partnerships with Charlotte Behavioral Health Care and other organizations. The hardest part of the journey toward recovery is taking that first step. Any person who enters one of my offices or contacts one of our deputies and requests help with their addiction will immediately be screened for participation in the program without fear of arrest. The Charlotte County Sheriff's Office wants to help you battle the disease of addiction. Together, we can make a difference in Charlotte County. Recovery is possible.